Hi, my name is Akiva Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman and Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law. Please subscribe to our channel. We had an interesting inquiry, and I do get this every now and then. Somebody will call up and tell me a story how they thought they were divorced, but it turns out not. How does that happen? Well, recently somebody called me up and they said they were in jail. They were served with divorce papers. They didn't fight it because they didn't have the ability to do so. They got out of jail. They presumed that they were divorced. Then they had some reason to make inquiry, and they found out that their ex served them with papers but never actually finalized. And therefore years go by, they thought they were divorced and they're not. This could give rise to some very serious legal issues. For example, if you think you're divorced, so you remarry, come to find out you never were divorced, you know what that means? That means that your second union is an illegal union. It's not a legitimate marriage. And that has implications too. What if you have children in that marriage thinking that they are legitimate children when in fact they're not? What if, for example, your spouse or the person you think is your spouse, what if they die? You would inherit them as a surviving spouse. On the other hand, if you're not legitimately a spouse because your marriage is invalid because you were still married to the first one, you don't inherit them as a surviving spouse. So there's a lot of complication with this. If you find that you're in that circumstance, you've got to immediately get divorced. Now, whether you can get divorced retroactive, that remains to be seen. There's a concept in the law called doing things nunc pro tunc. That's a Latin expression. Literally, it means now for then. Sometimes you can do something now for then, meaning that you file the appropriate motions, you ask for the relief, but in essence you're asking the court to grant it retroactive to a certain date. Will the court do it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It really depends on whether or not it's reasonable. If a person comes to the court and says, I want to get divorced, I thought it was divorced, it's been a year, I realize now that it's not, so I want to do it nunc pro tunc, go back a year, it's more likely that the court might consider that as opposed to someone who says, I thought I was divorced in 1975. Would you give me a judgment nunc pro tunc for that? Probably not. So you can ask the court for that relief. Either way, you may or may not get it. If you don't get it, the court will still give you a divorce, but simply say, look, I'm going to give you a divorce. Now you're divorced. As far as your marriage goes, you're right. It may well be an invalid marriage. I suggest you go down to the Justice of the Peace tomorrow and remarry. That's what you should do. There may be some complication. There may be other issues involved in that have to be taken care of. It's a different story. If you have any questions about that, reach out, and of course, we'll be glad to help you out.